Oh, let me tell you something. Busting makes me feel good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, digitally from Bedrock, placed right out of history, it's Danny Franc.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Jay. It is always a pleasure to be here. Good to see you, man.
I like... always a pleasure. I've never had you as a guest before, but it is always a pleasure to have you on. You said it twice.
I know. It's always a pleasure to see you is what I meant.
That's
but
true.
It is nice to be on.
I haven't seen you in a while, man. When was the last time you did? God, because we did your podcast, the Danny Franc's Walks of Life, long before COVID. Yeah. And then we saw each other. I actually remember. This is a fun fact for a handful of people. So Danny used to have this show at a brewery in San Dimas, and it was one of the last shows I ever did before comedy got shut down for COVID's reasons.
Yeah, that was a weird week, man.
Yeah, well, I will never forget this because, like everybody, you had very different phases of like how seriously you took COVID, because everybody did. Nobody knew what the fuck to do. And I remember you had just traveled to Seattle, and I was working on a show where we were like one of the last shows to be in operation before COVID shut productions down. And I was really worried because you had come from Seattle, and I didn't want to catch COVID and like fuck our production up. So I was like, hey man, you're not allowed to come to your show. And I feel bad about that in retrospect now.
Oh, dude. I mean, don't feel bad about it though, because like we had no idea. I had no idea. I feel like a jackass because like I listened back to the old episode of Walks of Life that I recorded with my buddy up there. And we clearly were not taking this seriously and had no idea of like the impending lockdown. Like I remember we were joking on a ship in Seattle about how we were wearing our masks very tightly because we didn't want to catch anything, but we were like slowly noticing that like the city was just slowly withdrawing back in. The streets were getting slowly emptier, and then since then, man, a lot has happened that I never could have anticipated. But yeah, don't worry about it, man. When the time is right, the Long Beach Laugh-In will come back, and I'm sure we'll collaborate on shows again. I got to find a way to safely get out there and start doing some time in person.
Well, the nice thing is there are a lot of open mics and shows and stuff that are outdoors.
There's an underground scene going on right now, yeah.
There's an underground. The underground scene isn't the safe scene. There's an above ground scene that is safe. The underground scene is doing stuff indoors with no distancing and no masks, and people who are like, why the fuck are you wearing a mask, you sheep?
Yeah, isn't that weird when you come across somebody that like looks at you with disgust because you're like trying to be safe?
Oh, dude. I mean, that's why I stopped going to open mics. Because there was one I went to, I'm not going to say where, because I don't want to blow up anyone's spot specifically, like do what you want to do. But I was going to this place, and I had a mask on because you should when you're like around people and you're not social distancing. And people were like, why are you wearing that mask? That's just for you. And I was like, yeah, because I don't want your fucking weird germs in my face. Don't make fun of me for wearing a mask.
Also, you don't want to be out there killing old people without realizing it, you know? Like, God forbid, like you actually have some sort of virus and you're asymptomatic and like you're just walking around like death, not even realizing it.
I mean, if I'm going to kill old people, I want to knowingly do it. Okay, I don't want to do it.
You want a part of it. You want to have a hand.
Right.
This
is the thing. You can't I need to be an active participant in my killing of old people. I can't do it.
I mean, why do it if you're not going to be there?
Exactly. Right. Anyway, so speaking of things that are old, the Flintstones. Look at that master of transitions, Jay Light over here.
Pretty good segue.
You brought up this movie to me as the movie you wanted to talk about today, and I hadn't seen it in years. I haven't seen it, I don't think, since I was a child. Because I was like 4 years old when this movie came out. The 1994 Brian Levant directed movie, written by Stephen E. D'Souza, is one of the writers who wrote Die Hard. Live action motion picture adaptation of the 1960 to 1966 animated television series starring John Goodman, Rick Moranis, Elizabeth Perkins, Rosie O'Donnell, Kyle MacLachlan, Halle Berry, and Elizabeth Taylor in her final theatrical film appearance, and the B-52s.
So this movie had a lot of potential to be a classic and like one of the best movies ever made. And I think it came out and it was kind of a big blockbuster summer movie, I remember. But I gotta say, I'm not really sure why this popped into my mind, other than it's incredibly forgettable. Like, it could have been an amazing movie, because it's the Flintstones. Everybody knows about the Flintstones, but I think that's kind of where they got a little lost as well, because they tried to make a live-action adaptation of this that just felt so not like the Flintstones to me.
Okay.
So yeah, like I looked at it again. I'll give it this. It's not the worst movie that's ever been made, but it's certainly not that good. And there's a lot of tells, like the fact that Spielberg was a producer on this, but his name is listed as Spiel Rock. I don't know, man. Maybe it's fun. Maybe it's a strategy to stay away from it.
It's fun. Okay.
I didn't think it was that great of a movie. Let's get into it.
We have to get back to this movie. I watched it again, obviously, for this. And, okay, there's a lot of criticism of this movie. Like, it has a very bad rating on Rotten Tomatoes, negative reviews from critics. It has something like, a 22% on Rotten Tomatoes. And 2.5. Well, this is the thing. Roger Ebert gave it actually a pretty decent review. He gave it 2.5 out of 4 stars. Everybody basically was mad that they wrote a movie that was based on the Flintstones, which is a cartoon, a cartoon animated sitcom. And they wrote jokes for adults in there. Like, they wrote jokes. They were like, this is a family movie, but there's adult jokes in there. And the problem, like, the fact that this is a problem that people have with this movie shows how humorless people are about watching this movie. Like, yeah, it's not the greatest plot line in the world. It's pretty basic. It's not, like, breaking boundaries, and it's not just smashing through rocks like Bam Bam smashing through a door. But you know what? It's fun. It's cheesy and corny, and it feels like an animated sitcom cartoon come to life. And I am surprisingly going to defend this movie, and I want to hear what your fucking problem is with it, Danny.
Oh my god, man! Like, you're gonna die on this hill.
I will die on this hill. I will die on this hill, like Kyle MacLachlan died getting sucked into concrete.
Let me break it down for you. Why this wasn't the worst movie, but certainly just not the best. And it comes down to like weird choices at the story level. Because like you look at this from like a production design, standpoint, this was an amazing movie. They spent so much attention to detail and creating like bedrock and the surrounding mechanics of like all the animals. There's a lot of animatronics mixed in with live action. Yeah, the CGI. And
they got Jim Henson's workshop to do the animatronics and the puppetry.
And it shows.
They got the best in the biz to make this stuff.
So why is this movie such a, like, I don't know, like, do you remember anybody saying that much about it growing up or throughout your life?
No, I was 4 years old.
Well, you're younger than me, yeah.
Tell me about what your experience with this movie growing up, because clearly it had an impact on you that it did not have on me.
I mean, growing up, dude, I remember this movie was hyped up a lot, and it was supposed to be really good. Clearly, just coming back from an adult standpoint, though, just a lot of odd choices. So, the Flintstones was Hanna-Barbera's classic cartoon, which was basically just a ripoff of the Honeymooners.
Right.
If you pay attention, even in like the live action movie, The Flintstones, it's like takes place in this weird fusion of like 1950s America and like prehistoric times. And because of that, there's a lot of cool redemptive themes. Like I felt like all the women characters in this movie were very strong as they were in the cartoon too, and that was kind of like a pivotal thing that was groundbreaking for them. But then at the same time, the main character is so goddamn unlikable. Like, I felt like John Goodman kept oscillating into the, you ever see Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yes.
You know, the Bible thumping, like, sales guy that ends up conning them and, like, beating them over the head with a tree branch?
Mm-hmm.
He felt more like that than he did like the lovable Fred Flintstone that I know, you know? Like, time and time again throughout this movie, we see him, like, faced with these, like, moral conundrums, and he's, like, a complete asshole. He sells his friend down the river in order to get, like, fame, and, like, I guess that's this whole movie's, like, a cautionary tale on, like, being careful with how you approach becoming rich. And, like, one of the biggest themes is that, like, family is the most valuable thing. But at the same time, dude, like, we see a scene where Fred Flintstone knowingly throws Barney into homelessness. And it's a very campy, fun way of portraying homelessness. But it's like Rosie O'Donnell, or it's Bam Bam and, you know, Barney and all them living on the streets in front of dinosaurs. Like, that's a dark concept.
Yeah, that's why it works.
I don't know,
That's
man.
why
it doesn't feel like the Flintstones. So
it's
like,
but it's not. Oh, okay.
I get it.
It's supposed to feel. It's supposed to look like the Flintstones, right? But it's an adult. I think the big problem is that this movie is marketed as a family movie. It's clearly not a family movie.
No, there's a lot of adult themes. Like
it's a dark adult comedy.
It kind of is. And like,
I wouldn't even say kind of. I would say that the marketing for this movie is 100% incorrect because it is a movie made for the parents who watched the Flintstones when they were younger.
That's kind of what I kept thinking of too. Like clearly the audience that they went for is more so the adults because like there's a lot of very heavy adult concepts. Like in this movie, Fred gets set up and incriminated for embezzlement.
Right.
You're gonna sit around the fire with your family and like explain to them what corporate embezzlement is and like how that affected the union and why they had to disband. Like, I don't know. It's great that like as well that at the end of the day, like the hero of our movie is like this middle class Fred Flintstone guy that ultimately like I guess decides that he's not cut out for a supervisor position. But it's kind of disheartening too that at the end he's just resolved to like stay in middle America forever, I guess, and like he doesn't really have any aspirations.
Well, but this is the
thing. It's a weird message, like, man.
I don't. Okay,
here's not for kids.
Here's the thing. So, if we're looking at it from sort of a socioeconomic standpoint, right?
Yeah.
The cartoon of the Flintstones. You're right. You know, Fred Flintstone is this guy. He's blue collar. He works at a quarry. You know, he's a laborer, right? And a lot of the cartoon dealt with in a very like funny, approachable way worker relations. Right?
It really did, man.
It's a very like there's unions and there's all of this stuff. And then this movie takes that sort of idea and doubles down on like it progresses it forward and is like, all right, so the economic standpoint here is that Fred Flintstone becomes an executive and all of a sudden it's like you said, right? He's a jerk. he power and money corrupts him because he's not, and also he's dumb. Like, he's not supposed to be clearly a man in charge. Like the boardroom scene where he's like, we can't put people in houses like this. This is very funny.
Yeah.
It's very low hanging fruit. Like, I'm not going to come out here and be like, oh, this is a groundbreaking comedy. It's, totally underrated. I think it's not the worst comedy I've ever seen, though. It's certainly got, as far as like from a political, economic standpoint, all of those pieces I agree with.
Yeah.
And the fact that they made a very clearly adult comedy and marketed it as this family movie, it's like, yeah, sure, fine by me. But I don't really understand. I think that maybe it's because like I haven't seen this movie in so long and I really didn't have any recollection of the movie prior to you bringing it up, and just thinking, oh yeah, everyone's going to hate this movie. It's bad.
Well, that's the thing, though, dude. Again, it's very forgettable because it doesn't feel like the Flintstones, in my opinion.
So what?
It feels like a throwaway movie. Like, arguably,
what do you mean by that?
Halle Berry's like hottest role ever. She looked amazing in this movie. She was like her goddess self, and I remember that sticking out as a kid. Watched it as an adult, was pleasantly surprised that it's still the same. But you don't remember her in this movie. You said Liz Taylor. This was her last movie. Mm-hmm. One of the most famous movie stars ever. You know why nobody remembers this movie and being her last role? Because it's forgettable. And like, it's, again, because like, I didn't buy that these were the characters. I didn't really like Fred Flintstone most of the time. I felt like a lot of times I was watching John Goodman do a Jackie Gleason impersonation.
But isn't that the whole point of the Flintstones?
I guess it is.
Isn't the whole point of Fred Flintstone to be doing a Jackie Gleason impersonation?
I mean, they did it. I guess it's like, why did they make this movie? Did this really need to be a movie? Couldn't it have just stayed an amazing cartoon? Because now my expectations of what I wanted will never be fulfilled, And like, here's the other thing, dude. If we want to talk about the humor, yes, a lot of funny jokes, but I would describe this as a heavy-handed punnery. Like, pun after pun after pun after pun after pun. It's all rock and dinosaur related.
Yeah,
it's great.
Just like the cartoon was, though.
Right.
So they can do it on the cartoon, but they can't do it on the movie?
Not for a whole long hour.
They can do it in the cartoon, but they can't do it in the movie? Danny, what's the problem with puns?
Maybe the pacing, they gave out too many puns for me. I was noticing over and over and over again, like at a certain point, like, okay, I get it. They're cavemen, I get it. Son of a Brachiosaurus, I get it. It's clever. But like, really?
That's not even a pun.
The amount, puns and wordplay, I should say. Puns and wordplay. Like the fact that he ends the Stone Age when he kills Mr. Stone, right? That's kind of a weird play on words too. That was kind of cool, I will admit. It's a funny, weird way to end it. I didn't know if it doesn't feel like a Flintstones choice to me that he would somehow be the hero at the end of it and end the Stone Age. By accidentally inventing cement. I don't know if you noticed that at the end. Concrete. I'm sorry.
And he named Mr. Van Cave. He didn't murder Mr. Stone. Sounds like you didn't even pay attention to this movie.
How dare you?
Or how dare you? You come on my podcast, you get characters' names wrong.
I called him Mr. Stone because his secretary is Mrs. Stone.
Right, Sharon Stone.
No.
By the way, no, that's the character's name. The character's named Sharon Stone.
And she's played by Halle Berry.
Right. But her name is Sharon Stone. Like, it's a Basic Instinct joke. This is a movie for adults.
It's terribly good. I don't know. It's very heavy-handed to me.
Of course it's heavy-handed. It's a fucking cartoon. Cartoons are heavy-handed.
It's not the worst ever. I just expected something more authentically Flintstone-y.
Okay.
And I just don't feel like I got it. Rick
Let me ask you
Moranis
this.
and John Goodman, Amazing casting. Why don't I remember this movie?
Let me ask you this.
Circumstances could have been cooler. Sorry, go on.
I feel like I'm unraveling the sweater of you not liking this movie because you went from saying that you hated John Goodman and thinking he's just doing a Jackie Gleason impression to just saying it's amazing casting. I'm making you come
amazing
around.
casting, but the acting choices and a lot of the story choices were a little weird to me.
Okay.
Here's the other thing. Like when the townspeople, or not the townspeople, when the workers are all distraught and they stumble upon Fred and Barney and they want to kill them, I guess. Very adult concept. Why don't they want to throw them, if this is really a family movie, why don't they want to throw them to like a dinosaur? No, they want to hang them. They want to hang and burn them for some reason. Like that's
they do say it's a lynch mob, which is...
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? What time period is this again?
It's very dark.
And there's a random jazz fill between two scenes, I noticed.
The B-52s?
No. There was like a random jazz fill in that movie. It was like a rhythm blues jazz fill. It was... I
don't know what a jazz fill is, I guess.
Like between... A jazz fill is just like a little bit of music, like jazzy, sad music. And I just noticed in one of the transitions between scenes, in only that one, they played a jazzy...
What were the two scenes that it was transitioning between, though?
I'm sure it was implying some sort of bluesy sadness, but it just felt out of time. I don't know. Again, these are weird choices. These are weird choices to me.
I have a question.
Am I overanalyzing it? Yeah, but
I have a question for you.
Please.
To you, because I mean, I've known you for a couple years. I had no idea that you loved the cartoon of the Flintstones so much.
I don't love the cartoon of the Flintstones.
Why are you defending?
Sorry. Go on. It's a great cartoon. Hanna-Barbera, Tex Avery, the golden age of illustration. That was great historic stuff. This is the foundation of like American cartoons, is the Flintstones. But
why?
To me.
No. Why do you think this movie was not Flintstonesy in that way? Like, what did you like about the cartoon of the Flintstones that you think they missed in the live action version?
I guess the biggest thing is just, again, that I didn't like Fred in the movie. I didn't like John Goodman's interpretation of Fred for some reason. Even though he was... And I watched some old Flintstones episodes just to make sure I wasn't imagining things. But I feel like he was a lot more likable in the show, in the cartoon. Fred Flintstone was kind of a jerk occasionally to Barney, who was always like this lovable genius idiot, you know, despite himself. He was always like solving the situations as we're, but like, again, Fred just didn't feel that likable. John Goodman didn't seem that likable throughout the whole movie.
That's your only problem.
I wish there was better circumstances. I wish I could have liked Fred Flintstone a little more.
What would you do? How would you change this movie to make it something that you like? Because I'll tell you what I'm hearing from you, Danny, about the Flintstones 1994 box office champion Flintstones is that you have problems with the movie that are very easily fixed in your mind. So how do you fix this movie?
Change it completely. I
don't think you really want to change it completely. It sounds like you don't have that much of a problem with it.
I feel like it was a missed opportunity to make it better, though, in that, like, this could have made for a really cool road movie. I would have liked to explore the world, the Flintstones bedrock world a little more, because that's really what this movie did really damn well. Again, the production design was phenomenal. I feel like they could have used that a little bit more instead of examining these weird concepts that were very adultish. Like, also too, like, it was very strange that the movie starts off with this thing where, like, Barney has to adopt a kid, and like, that's, again, it's great. I guess you can talk to the family about the whole concept, but it just seems very heavy. I guess I would have liked more of a slapsticky buddy comedy out of this than what I got. What I got was more of a real serious story. that like occasionally makes comments on like worker relations, and it kind of takes the escapist element out of it for me because there's too much reality. I think that's what it is. And arguably the show played with reality, the cartoon, a little bit, but like I feel like this could have been a better movie if they would have indulged in the fantasy more. I don't know.
How
There's a
so?
different script
Like,
out there.
if you were writing the Flintstones movie,
Yeah.
what's your plot line for it? You say you want to do like a road story buddy comedy. What does that look like in your mind?
I mean, maybe we start off with this rough idea that like this movie had, where we just start off at the point where, the boss has been discovered as being an embezzler and setting Fred up right from the get-go. And he, kidnaps the mother-in-law and the daughter, and the rest of the movie is them trying to find and save them. I think that would have made for more fun scenarios than this.
So you would rather watch a movie about a kidnapping because kidnapping is slapstick, but worker relations absolutely not.
I don't know, man. I guess I wanted to see more of the world again. It just didn't. The story didn't interest me that much. I didn't like the characters that much. I find this movie very forgettable.
I feel like maybe you don't actually like the Flintstones at all as a concept. Like, I don't think you like the cartoon of the Flintstones. I feel like you're having some childhood, like, real come to Jesus moments here with the way you looked at the Flintstones. Because what did you like? What did you like about the cartoon? If you thought that, like, the cartoon had slapstick, right? They had a lot of stuff, but so did this movie. This movie has literal, like, cartoon sound effects.
I know,
and it has like people smashing through walls and getting catapulted into cliff sides.
I would have liked to see more of it, I guess. You're right there, though. I mean, I thought it was kind of really imaginative and cool to see him do the Twinkle Toes thing. But again, like, I don't know. I feel like this movie just wasn't for me, man. I didn't care that much again about the characters or the story that was going on. And then Rosie O'Donnell sounds like an annoying version of her character. Like, I noticed it.
Do you know her character's name?
Yes, but I'm totally forgetting right now. Betty White.
Okay.
I know. Jesus Christ, dude. I feel like defending this movie totally is unraveling me, and I have no idea why.
This is the thing. Honestly, I mean, here's the real honest thing is I watched this movie. Well, before I watched it, I was totally expecting to be on the same page as you and just like not give a shit about this movie. And I watched it, and it's not, again, it's not a great movie by any means. It's a movie that, like, was totally comfortable having on in the background and, like, checking my phone and reading Twitter and checking fantasy football scores during it. But it's not...
not paying attention to it?
Yeah, because...
It's forgettable.
It's not that it's forgettable. It's just that it's, like... It's the kind of movie where you're not missing a whole lot if you don't pay attention to it the entire time. And there are a lot of movies like that. There's a lot of movies that are just sort of like middle of the road, average movies that don't, like, they don't need to be maligned the way that the Flintstones has been. I mean, I think that Roger Ebert giving this movie 2.5 stars out of 4, while everybody else in the film criticism world gave this movie a terrible review. Roger Ebert was like, this is almost a 3-star movie. Like, this is a just above average movie. And I don't often agree with Roger Ebert. I think he's got a lot of bad opinions on movies, but he was kind of right on this, I think. Like, I did not expect to be in this position where I'm like arguing with you about this movie so much. I'll be straight up. I did not think that episode was going to go this way, but I've got weird, strong feelings about the Flintstones.
And it baffles me.
Well, it baffles
because it's so clear in my mind that like it's almost maddening. I'm like, no, this is terrible.
But why is it so? It doesn't seem like it's that clear. Okay.
Why? Tell me why this is the greatest movie, or not the greatest, but tell me more about why you enjoy this movie. Because you told everybody right now, like you weren't really paying attention to it because it's a movie that pretty insignificant in the grand scheme of things, right?
I mean, I paid enough attention to it to like understand what was going on, and I like the jokes. I love movies that do. I loved the production design. I loved how they captured the world of the Flintstones, and I also think that the hijinks of the movie, right? Yeah. The plot, high concept kind of stuff is good. It's fun. It's not the best written. Like it's kind of low hanging fruit. Like I said, it's not groundbreaking comedy. It's not groundbreaking screenwriting, but it's not the worst thing in the world the way that so many people said that this movie was.
It's just a very generic way of making a Flintstones movie so that they can successfully market more things.
Right, and how else were they going to make a Flintstones movie, right? Are they going to do a gritty reboot of the Flintstones? Are they going to do the Taken of Flintstones like you're proposing? No, they're not going to do that.
Do we need Flintstone vitamins? Why can't we just have CVS vitamins? I don't know. These are questions that the creators and choices that the creators made that I just personally don't agree with.
I think
so. Bite me, Jay. I don't know. This movie is not that great.
No, I agree. It's not that great, but it's also not that bad either. Like it's pretty much, as far as a comedy goes, as far as a cinematic version of the Flintstones goes, where you do a live action version of a cartoon and manage to make it entertaining and funny in a way that I didn't expect. I think this movie got the job done, and I think that the casting of the movie's great. I think the thing that I want to hear from you that I haven't really gotten a straight answer on yet is who would you cast instead of John Goodman to play Fred Flintstone?
I love John Goodman as Fred Flintstone. I think he makes a perfect Fred Flintstone.
But you've already told. Okay.
Type. But the acting leads me to believe he's a very unlikable conman throughout the whole fucking movie. And like I love Dan Connor.
But he's not acting like a con man. He's not acting. He's
like a sleazeball in my mind the whole movie.
No, he's just like he gives his friend money to adopt a child
at the very beginning, and then
he's just dumb. He's like Homer Simpson, dude.
I don't know, man.
He's an idiot.
Maybe I'm judging him by a higher standard than I should.
You're putting Fred Flintstone up to an awfully high standard. But this is the thing.
Yeah.
Who do you want to be Fred Flintstone?
No, I would love John Goodman to be Fred Flintstone again, but I think just the way he was acting, for whatever reason, and maybe it was the writing, made him seem this way in my mind. He seemed like kind of a sleazeball the whole movie. And I feel like they should have made him a little more likable. I guess, giving his friend money to like adopt a child, pretty big points at the beginning. But throughout the whole rest of the movie, dude, he's just this jerk. And like, I guess that's the point of it, to showcase how different he became. But again, I would have liked a different movie. Maybe Viva Rock Vegas is better. I haven't seen it.
You know what? Now we have to watch Viva Rock Vegas, which I have a feeling is actually maybe the movie you're looking for, because it's a movie about a young Fred Flintstone and Flintstone crew, not played by John Goodman, and they go drive to Rock Vegas.
Oh my God!
I think it might have everything you're looking for.
Okay, yeah, so I'm going to be watching that movie and giving you a little report on that, because this just wasn't it for me, man. I'm sorry. I will compromise though and say, you're right. It is not the worst movie ever made. It's just not that good.
Oh, boy. I mean, it's fine. It's not bad.
Glowing endorsement by Jay Light.
It's fine. There's nothing.
It's fine.
Listen, there's a lot of problems with other movies.
Yeah.
This movie is not bad. To say a movie is fine is not an insult. there need to be fine movies. What else are we going to show on AMC or Comedy Central or TNT except for fine movies?
I guess this goes in with the Flintstone vitamins. Didn't really need to happen, but it happened.
Still happening.
Yeah. Is there another movie?
No, Flintstone vitamins.
Oh, yeah. Flintstone vitamins will never go away, but I thought like there's another adaptation of the Flintstones brand.
No. They were trying to do, I know a couple years ago that Seth MacFarlane was doing a Flintstones update, but it wound up not going anywhere. Which, I mean, if there's anybody who could probably do Flintstones fine in these modern times, it's Seth MacFarlane, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
anyway.
I don't know.
If you watch Viva Rock Vegas,
got so worked up for
and it winds up being the movie that you have always dreamed that the Flintstones movie would be, with your vast love of the Flintstones franchise that you apparently have.
I don't have a vast love of the Flintstones franchise, but I will say this. I do have books on cartooning and the golden age of illustration of which that was a part. Hanna-Barbera, like they were like early pioneers in animating.
I feel like you invented your love of this movie in order to just be on the podcast, Danny.
Oh, this movie, I will admit, completely random choice. Because you said you needed to know right away, and it just popped in my mind as being.
You had a movie that you wanted to talk about that you didn't like.
Honestly, lately, I've only been thinking about movies that I enjoy. Maybe my perspective's changing because I'm trying to like write things more lately. But it was very tough for me to decide on like a movie that I really hate.
I mean, you had a movie that you'd already talked about earlier, The War with Kevin Costner.
And again, I watched it again. I don't know if it was that bad. It's pretty heavy-handed. But I don't know, dude. Is it a terrible, terrible movie? Like,
well, now we'll never know because the episode's over and we talked about the Flintstones for half an hour instead of talking about The War with Kevin Costner. So
in summation, watch The War with Kevin Costner and Elijah Wood.
No, watch the Flintstones on HBO because it's not that bad. That's what I have to say about it.
You be the judge. Please write in and comment on your feelings about the Flintstones movie.
Yeah. By the way, where can they do that on your social media, Danny? Where can people go if they watch the Flintstones and agree with me? Or if they agree with you, they can comment on my social media at Diet J. But hit us with
Danny
yours.
Franc Comedy. DANNYFRANC Comedy. On Twitter, Hey Danny Frank on Twitter, Danny Frank Comedy on Instagram. If you disagree with me, feel free to write me hate mail. Just keep it out of the comments. If you disagree with Jay, let him know. He's got to know.
At Diet J on Twitter and Instagram. And
Diet J.
JLikeComedy.com for show dates live and live streamed. If you like the show, please subscribe on Patreon. We're doing bonus episodes every other week. I just dropped one yesterday. I got to figure out a better schedule for doing bonus episodes, but we're getting there, folks. We're figuring it out. And that's about it. I mean, hey, Danny, thanks again for being a great, fun guest. This is a very fun episode.
Definitely, man. It is my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Now, everybody out there, listen to me and listen to me loud. Go get stoned. I see. Flintstones.
All right. This has been Blockbusting. This has been Blockbusting. This has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.